So today I am talking all about endo and my story and what I have coming up in terms of raising awareness and fundraising, and a little bit about how I cope with my condition, the entire journey since being diagnosed. Starting my periods when I was 13 years old. I remember the time leading up to that and all my friends were starting, and I would constantly say to my mom, like, why haven't I got mine yet? I felt like it defined my womanhood by starting my period. Little did I know it would be absolute hell. Kind of go to my friends in the playground and be like, is yours this bad? Are you crawling across the kitchen floor like in pain? And they were like,
no.
Which is the most annoying thing. They would be like, I get my period for 2 days and I just use panty liners. Hated it, every second of it. I kind of wanted to go back in time and be like, Mom, don't let it happen. 16 is when I sort of started to think maybe my symptoms aren't quite right. All my friends did not experience the same thing that I did. I was having these excruciating, like, Niagara Falls style periods. So I went to the doctor and I said to them, you know, like, I'm in agony. So the doctors recommended that I go onto birth control, and they said you can control your periods this way by only having like 3 periods a year, tricycling, so that I wasn't going through agony all the time. But they still just condemned that down to being just heavy period. So it was never like a label. They just sort of shoved me off. So I didn't come back to the doctors for about a year. This is so open and this is so honest, but I feel like if anyone's gonna talk about it, then it's gonna be me who has it, and I don't really care about being, you know, letting out the taboos at this point, because there are so many women that have never heard of this condition and it's so common that I feel personally it should be talked about. I went back because I was getting these shooting pains up my butt, and they were like, well, maybe you've got fibroids. I was like, okay, well, my mum has fibroids, so maybe I have fibroids too. That kind of makes sense. So I had to hold in my pee for the whole day, go in for an ultrasound. They literally just went like this. Nah, you're fine. Just kind of felt defeated. Like, I felt, no, like, I know my body. I know I've spoken to so many girls. They're not having the same experiences as me, and something's just not quite right. I just, you know, I didn't want to keep going back because I'd been sort of dismissed twice. I felt a bit like maybe it is just what the doctor says and I just have these heavy periods that really hurt. Turned 18 and I got my period during my tricycling and I could not get out of bed. I felt like I had literally had someone get a sledgehammer and whack it through my whole body. I could not leave my bed. Rang the doctor, put the phone to my face, still in bed, didn't move, and was like, I feel like I've been shot. I think I have endometriosis.
Endometriosis is the condition in which cells like the ones that make up the lining of the womb are found elsewhere in the body. These cells react in the same way, breaking down and bleeding, except it's off the surface of your organs. Therefore, this blood gets trapped as it can't escape. This causes things like adhesions, chronic pain, possible infertility, and chronic fatigue.
And the doctor says, well, the best thing we can do is get you in for an examination. I was like, finally! Like, we're moving somewhere, like, we're getting somewhere now. Got me in for an examination. I explained everything. I explained all the pains that I'd been having, pains in my butt, pains all through my sides, being able to leave my bed, being extremely fatigued. The fact that my quality of life was being diminished by my menstrual health. And she just says, well, to be honest, Georgina, the only way we're gonna find out is through a laparoscopy. I was like, what the hell is that? He's a French bulldog, so he makes weird noises. Okay, so, finally getting proper investigations done. She was like, well, in order to actually diagnose you with endometriosis, we can't do it with a scan. We've got to physically go in to where the endometriosis is, find it and remove it. Oh, we got another doc here. She gave me a brief overview of what this laparoscopy would consist of, but she said the best person to talk to will be your specialist. And I had a consultation with him. I re-explained all my symptoms, and he was like, yeah, this is like the butt on my back. This is definitely the best point of call. It does sound like you have endometriosis, and a laparoscopy is the best thing to do. And he said, what we will do, we will make one incision for your belly button, we will put a prong with a camera on the end of it inside you, and we will look around to see exactly where the growths are. And then if we do find endometriosis, we will then put 2 more prongs for your sides, and we will cut away the growths. I'd never been under anesthetic before, let alone had like some kind of mass surgery. So for me, it was like a big deal. I knew it was something that I had to have done. I had not known what was causing all this pain for so many years, and it was about time that I got diagnosed so that I could start pain management and actually get my life in order. I had the surgery finally on February the 13th of this year. I'd had all my blood tests done the week prior, so it's just to check that I wasn't allergic to the anesthetics. Went in the morning, put on this sexy hospital gown, these little netted pants. Also, I was sat in the bay. I was texting my friends the whole time. I found that this really calmed me down prior to surgery. It really helped me to not freak out. So by the time I was called through, I was completely calm, I was ready. The surgeon was talking to me about my life and what I do at university, and I was so distracted by that by the time they were pumping the drip through, like not even conscious of it. He gets the oxygen going and says, right, time to put your mask on. Just let myself go. When I woke up, it literally felt like it had been like, what, a 5-minute nap? But I did feel like I had been literally hit by a bus. I woke up in the recovery room and I turned to this nurse and was like, did they do the surgery yet? And she's like, of course they did, you're in the recovery room. I had this really bad urge to pee, but my bladder was fully empty because I wasn't allowed to drink or eat anything for like 8 hours prior to surgery. So what my bladder had actually done is it had gone to sleep. I didn't need to pee at all. It was just like completely empty and like contracting and being weird. Pumped some morphine through my drip and I was gone, like asleep again. When I woke up in the second room, it was a little bit of a different experience. I was a little bit anxious. Where am I? Like, did they find anything? No one was telling me anything. And I felt really wet underneath my my seat. So my butt, like it honestly felt like that amount. So I thought I definitely urinated. When I looked down, it's not urine at all, it was blood. Sat in all of this blood. And they're like, no, that's what happens, like that's a natural thing. I kind of wish that I'd been briefed on that prior because I wouldn't have been so like freaked out by it as I was. So have they done anything? Have they found it? Have they found anything? No one was telling me anything. Then I found out my doctor had gone home for the day, so I wouldn't be able to find out that day. When I managed to pull myself up out of bed, I was assisted to the toilet and I pulled up my hospital gown and I saw 3 incisions. And this pang of like disappointment hit me so hard. I hadn't been told yet, but going by the 3 incisions, I knew that I had endometriosis at that point. I remember being so upset because I just knew at this point that there was no cure for the pain that I was in. I sort of wanted it just to be a growth that someone could just cut out and then that would be it. When you have surgery for something, you usually have it to come to some kind of good outcome to make you better. But knowing that this surgery was just a temporary thing because it would end up growing back was something that was really difficult to process. The surgery in general took 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours. I didn't leave the hospital until about 2 or 3. But in the time of waking up and getting to leave, I wasn't allowed to see my family at all. And I needed them there at that point. And I kept begging them to let my dad come through. My dad was waiting in the waiting room. I had realized that I had this condition. I needed someone there by my bedside to sort of, you know, for me to come around from the drugs too, but also to kind of just like fall back on in terms of the conclusion that I got for myself. I'm sorry. So I had called my doctor the next day, and there were so many rude, unhelpful stuff that I spoke to prior to actually getting through to someone that knew what they had done to me the day before, in which I eventually found out that, yeah, I had endometriosis. For the next few weeks after that, I was just inconsolable. I had so many negative thoughts running through my head. My confidence had been completely crushed. I felt like I wasn't a success as a woman. And what if I couldn't have kids? Like, something that meant so much to me. Through the love and support of my friends and my family and my boyfriend, I sort of came around to accept that, yeah, I had this condition. I'm a very headstrong girl. Like, when I'm told that I can't do something, I want to go out and do it even more. I wanted to start raising awareness of this disorder. I wanted to start raising money for research so that maybe there could be a cure one day. Finding out that if I happen to have any children and it happens to be a daughter in the future, she will be 7 times more likely to have this, and that just makes me angry. So I wanted to basically get out there and change things for me, for other women, for young girls. So I signed up to do a 5K run the April of that year, so that's like 2 months after surgery, 2 months after recovery. I said, right, I'm gonna raise £300 for Endometriosis UK. I'm gonna put on some running shoes and I'm gonna do this run. I'm gonna run 5K, which is like insane for me because having chronic fatigue as a result of endometriosis stops me from doing a lot. Like, I'm constantly tired. I raised £400 instead of just 300. And I smashed it, and I got the bug for it after that. I was like, if I can do that, if I can push myself to do that, then I can at least push other women to go to their doctors and talk about these pains that they're having and not just settle for the fact that it's a bad period. Found out that the pains in my ass weren't just periods. It was, disgusting. It was, growths all over my bowels, you know? Like, it's not just what the doctor says sometimes. Sometimes you have to listen to your own body and, you know, look into something. Even then, after this surgery that I'd had, after I got one conclusion, I still knew that that wasn't quite right, because after my surgery, literally the month after I recovered, I was in pain still. So it's kind of like pass the parcel, but instead pass the patient, and I got handed over to another specialist who examined me, a couple weeks ago, and said, I can already feel growths where you haven't been diagnosed as having them. Like, not only do I have endometriosis, but I have endometriosis in places that I didn't even know that I had it. When I was telling him about my actual periods, he goes, to be honest, I think you have adenomyosis as well. Saturday, I will be having my MRI scan to detect where all the growths are, whether it's in my womb, my uterus. But even though I might have adenomyosis and I might be a later stage of endometriosis than originally for, I am still doing what I do best and going against the challenge of things that I can't do, and I am doing the 3 Peaks Challenge in Yorkshire to raise money for Worldwide Endometriosis Research Foundation. They've even given me t-shirts, and they're tweeting about my Just Giving page, and they've just been really supportive throughout everything. So that's everything I have to say about my journey with endo and my coping mechanisms, etc., and what I'm doing to raise awareness and money for charities. I will include my Just Giving link below, as well as the ads to my Instagram account, so that you can keep up with training and, you know, just post about what I'm doing. Thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate your support, and yeah, here's to cutting out the taboos.